At the starting of the chapter, a person is describing that how a man assaulted a woman in front of her young child by kicking and stepping onto her head and chest until the woman dies. The man was previously convicted for similar cases, and yet the man has assaulted and killed another person, therefore heavy penalty is unavoidable. However, to the person's dismay, the fact that the assailant had no intention to kill and has offered the victim's child the compensation money, the fact that the assailant is undergoing treatment for mental illness and he deeply regrets his action. The assailant is only sentenced to only 3.5 years of imprisonment, but, is this time enough? My mother has died. Just because he deeply regrets his actions, he only gets 3.5 years. What kind of law is that? The scene shifts to a bus where a man wearing a black hoodie is sitting on the back seat of the bus. A middle-aged thug-like man approaches the bus, and suddenly he slaps the bus driver, and says how dare he report him to the police, and continued beating the bus driver and says to call the cops again. The bus driver says sorry to the thug, but he continued beating him, making a frustrating look, and saying just because of the bus driver he has to go to police station for questioning. The thug angrily says if he reports him to police, is he going to prison for 1,000 years? He says that he will come out in few days at most and brutally beats the bus driver. The thug glances at the passengers of the bus, everyone seems to be terrified. He sees a student holding a phone and approaches him. The student starts sweating. The man comes and says to him, "You wanna call the cops too?" The man sees that he is only listening to the song and leaves the bus. The man in the black hood also gets off the bus and follows the thug into an alley. The thug was smoking and he notices the man in the hood and asks him why is he following him. He asks the man in the hood to come near him. The man in the hood asks how many priors does he have. The thug says that he has 18 priors and he is making him blush. Then the hood man asks that how can he walk so freely. The man says because the law says so, and he lunges to attack the black hood man, but the hooded man punches the man in the jaw so hard that his jaw breaks. The hooded man then punches him in the gut and the man falls to his knees. The thug asks who sent him. The hooded man says that you said you deeply regretted your actions. The thug was dumbfounded. He lunges at the hooded man to make him fall to the ground while saying that I am going to kill you. He made the hooded man fall to the ground, but the hooded man grabs the broken jaw of the thug and does some judo karate shit and smashes the thug's head to the ground. The thug was in pain. The hooded man, in his mind, says that one day he couldn't bear what happened to him when he was little. The incident when his mother was beaten by a local thug to death. The thug beat her because she accidentally bumped into her. The thug was tried for his mother's murder but was sentenced to only 3.5 years because he regretted his actions. It's been 17 years since then and not once he stopped wondering whether the thug truly regretted his actions. So he decided to check with his own 2 eyes. On the bus he was worried, what if the thug really became a better person? Will he have to forgive the thug just like that? But the thug didn't change. The hooded man is thankful for him being a jackass all these years, and he wears his knuckles and beats the shit out of the thug brutally and finally kills him. The hooded man feels amazing and says that this is what justice is. The scene shifts to the morning time and we are shown the police academy. A man is entering the academy wearing a police uniform. On the way, fellow trainee policeman calls him the top of class. The man denies it in polite manner, but the 2 men insist that he is the real deal, and calls him Jeong Kim. We came to know that he is the hooded man. The scene shifts to training area, where Jeong Kim is sparring with a man in blue robe. The man grabs the cuff of Kim's robe, but Kim holds the man and threw him off around his shoulder and wins the match. There were 2 people watching. The black suit man asks, isn't that Jeong Kim? How is he so good at judo? The other person says it's just not judo, he's on par with national level athletes, boxers and wrestlers also, and all the clubs were trying to recruit him. The black suited man says that he heard that Kim has highest GPA in his class. The other person replies yes, he is the living proof of both brains and bronze. And it's a great pleasure to watch a student like Kim to grow. In the changing room, the blue robe man asks Kim that he knows that they are doing team project in seminar room, right? Kim replies yes. Other man says that he is heading out first. Kim nonchalantly watches the photo of his mother's kept in his wallet and puts it inside the locker. In the seminar room, a person says that for this team project they have to compare and analyze correctional policies in Korea and abroad. And asks the team to let's share the research on the correctional policies of Korea. The man sitting at the bench says that he will go first, and he has done some research on the policies of Middle East. The man standing says to him that he is not joking and brought a picture of a thief getting his hand cut off, right? The other man says that it was only a joke, and further says that there is a wide gap about what public rationally feels about the law and the punishments that are sentenced. An assailant destroys a victim or their entire family, and only gets 2 to 3 years of sentence and walks away. The man says that prioritizing the victim over the assailant should be the focus of the report. The man standing at front says that it does not align with the objective of the assignment. Everyone asks the opinion of Ji-young Kim, who is the leader of this team. Kim says that the professor already discussed about the issue before, and the police force is not a group to avenge the victims. Kim says that he understands him, but the police should remain cool and objective before the law. And unfortunately this is not an issue they can cover in their assignment. The other man says that fine, you are so cold-blooded, I thought you will sympathize with the victims. Kim slightly smiles. On his way in the corridor, Kim's friend asks him that where does he goes on the weekends? To which Kim replies that he visits his mentor at the police station. His friend says, doesn't he chase you away? Kim says, not really. The scene shifts to the Yongsan station, where the students says that they will see each other after the weekend. When Kim walks away, one of the two men standing behind says, is he going to meet his mentor again? The other person confirms it. Both of the men praises Kim and says that Kim is the pride of their class. Kim boards the bus and reaches Shung police station. The two people talking notices Kim and one of them asks, when did he get here? To which Kim replies, just now. The man is the mentor of Kim, he looks happy and jokes with him. The other man jokingly says that he should not speak informally to Kim, what will you do if Kim gets a higher rank than you? The mentor makes Kim sit at his desk as he has couple more things to discuss with his mate. At the desk Kim slightly glances at his mentor's computer where some secret file is open and Kim gets shocked by upon seeing it. The mentor approaches Ji-young and says that he is busy with a case and will not be able to spend time with Kim. Kim says that he is the one who dropped unannounced. His mentor says that he feels bad that they cannot grab a bite together. To which Kim says he can treat him some barbecue next time, and Kim walks away. The two men started talking again and the man asks the mentor that he is the murdered victim's son, right? To which mentor confirms it. And says that it's incredible how Kim overcame all that pain and now he is attending the police academy. If Kim's mother were to be alive right now she would have been very proud of him. Kim speaks to himself, every Friday to Sunday, that is when he hunts. During the week he come up with a strategy and visits the police station to get some clue at times, but it became more of a ritual for Kim to keep him on the edge. Kim selects his prey on two criterias: someone who is recently released after the ridiculous sentence for the crime one has committed, or someone who continues committing crime despite the leniency shown to him. And today is his hunting day, the day when he hunts down this week's prey. In the next panel, we are briefed about defendant Yong-sun, who is a doctor, and he secretly took pictures of his patients' private parts 150 times in the course of 2 years. He shared these images online, making his crimes grave, landing him 5 months in prison. However, considering he was a doctor, he was not registered as a sexual offender and his license was not revoked. He can just open a new clinic somewhere else. In the next scene, Yong-sun is talking to someone on his PC, where the other person want to ask something confidentially. To which Yong replies that she don't have to be shy and show the affected area as he can only advise so much by the symptoms she has described. When the other person sends some private photos of the affected area, Yang makes a creepy face. Yang replies to her by saying that he can cure it if treated soon, and asks to meet her on her preferred location. The other person thanks him and gives the address Guangmiang 5th District. She also writes that she does not want any medical records and is ready to pay triple. Yang exits the chat and calls her dumb bitch. He says that a shot of this medicine, and she will not remember anything, let alone leave a medical record. Yang wears his jacket and grabs his camera while making a creepy face, and he is psyched and thinks that this video will be off the hook. In next panel it is revealed that the other person was the black hooded man and he throws the phone in sewer. Yang is on his way to the preferred location unbeknownst to the fact that he is going to get his ass hooped. Yang goes into a dark alley and bumps into black hooded man, and continues walking. The hooded man calls him and asks that if he dropped his wallet. He opens and calls the name written on the ID. Yang replies in affirmative that the wallet belongs to him. While taking the wallet back, he thanks the hooded man. The black hooded man suddenly punches Yang on his face and grabs his collar, and using a judo technique makes Yang fall to the ground. Yang is twitching with pain. The black hooded man says that the law is full of loopholes, and it shows leniency to those who does not deserve it. He injects Yang with the medicine Yang brought. He says that the bastards like him does not deserve to practice medicine in the society. The hooded man puts Yang's hand between the metal crusher. He says to blame the legal system who released you back to the society, and crushes his hand while saying that he is going to fill these loopholes in the law while making a satisfied face. At the starting of the chapter, two policemen are seen where the hooded man crushed Ouyang's hand. The first man asks, "Is this the crime scene?" The other man replies in affirmative. And further explains the crime, that the victim is a doctor and the perpetrator used the metal crusher to crush the victim's hand. The first man asks, "What does the victim says?" To which other man replies that he doesn't remember a thing. And continues saying that he was injected with something before the assault. The policeman asks what is it, to which other man replies that it is a painkiller that causes short-term memory loss. The first man says if only they can find where the drug is from, but the other man cuts him off by saying it belongs to the victim and further explains that the victim was discovered with vials of drugs, a syringe and a camcorder. The first man exclaims what a drag. The other person says that the victim has prior cases for taking pictures of patients without their consent. The first man asks, what was the victim doing with these things at late night? The other man says that victim is refusing to make any statements, and while he was in the hospital he had one of his employees destroy his PC. The first person says that maybe the victim is lying when he says he doesn't remember anything. The other man says, who knows, all he knows that the victim is completely terrified and probably won't be able to practice medicine again. In the next panel we are taken to the police academy, where Jeong Kim is jogging with his fellow trainees, and also Kim has bruises on his fists. In the hallway some trainees are seeing the news of the assault on the doctor, and one of them says that probably one of the doctor's previous victims must have hired a fixer to do the assault. And further says that this is because people believe that the law cannot protect them. "What are you guys doing?" says Kim while approaching them. While making an optimistic face he further says that they have to be at top of their assignment to spend a carefree weekend. The scene shift to two people walking down the road. A kid coming from ahead gets frightened upon seeing them. One of the men curses the kid and says what the hell is he looking at. The kid makes a scared face while looking at the men, and starts crying. The man raises his hand to slap the kid and while making a scary face, he says that get out of here, you wanna die too? The kid gets stunned and runs away from that place. The other man says to his friend that he is just a kid, you might have given him a heart attack. While walking the red jacket man asks the men that did he know the kid? To which the man says that you know that I have to go to prison for 18 months right, and further says that one night he was drunk and taking a piss in the alley, then the kid's dad came and started whining about how he was pissing in front of his business. So he threw some punches but suddenly the kid's dad started foaming from his mouth and then he dies, and he curses his luck. The red jacket man laughs, and says that is that the reason why he asks the kid if he wants to die too. The man calls him a bastard. Then the red jacket man asks that he only served a year and a half for killing a man? To which the man replies that it was not murder, rather it was an honest mistake. He further says that it was an unintended accident, and he curses his luck because he has to spend 18 months in prison. The two men walk away and we see that the black hooded man is following them making a fierce face. The scene shifts to nighttime and we see that the two men are flirting with some girls, but girls denies to go with them. The two men walking away curses as they do not get their way with the girls. The man says that he wanted to get a shot before heading home. We see that hooded man running towards them. Unbeknownst to this fact, the two men stops to take a piss, and while taking a piss the vigilante comes dashing behind them and smashes one of the men's head to the wall. They both get startled. The red jacket man tries to punch the hooded man, but the hooded man punches him so hard that his ribs gets cracked and tears and saliva comes out from his mouth. Then the hooded man grabs his neck and smashes his head to his knees, then he grabs the man's hair and throws him to the ground. The other man tries to stab Kim but he notices and dodges it. The man asks to the hooded man what does he want while holding his bleeding mouth, and rushes to stab him while cursing him. Kim dodges the knife swiftly, and tries to punch the men. But the man swings his knife around, so Kim gets back. The man curses Kim while swinging his knife. To avoid the knife Kim gets behind an electric pole. The man relentlessly swings his knife around while cursing Kim. He continuously tries to stab and cut Kim, but after dodging and ducking the man for some time, Kim gets the hold of the man's arm. He pulls his arm, and the man's head collides with the pole and blood splatters around. Kim then kicks the man in the leg making him fall to the ground, and then Kim breaks the man's hand. The man shouts in pain, but Kim started punching the man in his face. The man started to ask for forgiveness and asks the hooded man to not kill him. But Kim continues punching the man while making a fierce face. The scene shifts to the kid and his mother. The kid is denying to go to school as he is scared of the two men, and says that they are going to kill him if he runs into them again. Then the mother says that she will accompany him, but the kid says that they will kill her too. The mother makes a depressed face and says it was not enough to put them in prison. The mother notices a crowd murmuring at a distance. Then she reaches near the crowd to know what has happened. Upon reaching there, a lady says that they are here just in time, and explains further that the two guys who kept bothering her and her kid was beaten to pulp by someone. Their arms were twisted, jaws and teeth were all shattered, they were beaten so badly that they don't even remember their names. The lady says that they used to arrogantly cause trouble in the neighborhood, guess they met their match. The scene shifts to where the police trainees were jogging while holding the book of police law. We then see Kim with his bruised hand running with a smile. In the hallway some trainees were muttering among them, then Kim comes and asks why they are not heading to the classroom. Then one of them says that he should look at this article. Kim seems confused, and then Kim gets shocked upon seeing the article. In the next scene we see a middle-aged man sitting at a cafe. A red-haired woman approaches the man says that she is the one who asks for a meet-up, and she shows up late. He further says that she only has 5 minutes and after that he will be gone. The woman says that the man mentioned the opening for a reporter's position, right? Let me give it a try, says the woman. The man makes a wearying face and says that just because he gives some of his time to her, the woman cuts off the man and says that she had been doing her own investigation and gives him the tablet to take a look. The man asks what is it? The woman says, it's an exclusive and just take a look at it. The man, while making an unhappy face, says what is this? An exclusive? He further says that these are just a list of major violent crime news, and he gets up to go away and says what a waste of time. The woman says sit down, here is the good part, and asks the man does he know what is common in these crimes? And further says that, they all occurred in Seoul or Western Gyeonggi region, between Friday to Sunday. And the victims of these cases are the people who have been previously convicted for serious crimes, but were released by ridiculous court ruling. The man seems confused and asks what is she talking about. The woman asks him to take a seat, and she briefs the man about several crimes in which the perpetrator was either released or was out on parole due to the ridiculous court rulings. She further says that all of this was reported in news and the public was outraged on the court's ruling. She describes how the law is biased for defendant, you get 6-month prison for stealing noodles, but if you have a lawyer who used to be a judge, you get off on parole, even if you have killed someone. She says that the law is failing to protect the people and these kind of comments were left for these cases, but now someone is going around punishing those people who got off with a minimal sentence because of the loopholes in the law. She joyfully says that the people need a vigilante, a hero. In a time where criminal faces minimal consequences while the victim and their family suffers, our society feels outraged at the justice system, and now someone has taken it upon themselves to take action. This is exactly what the world wants, a perfect dark hero. She says that this is definitely a scoop. The man ridicules the woman, so she gets up to go away. The man asks where is she going. To which she replies that if he is not going to understand then she will go to other broadcasting stations. The man shudders and asks her to wait, but the woman says that she has other appointments. She says the next person is already interested in who the vigilante is. In pressure the man agrees to give her the reporter's position. And asks her what is she going to call the so-called exclusive, to which she replies, vigilante. In the next panel we see Kim holding a phone and reading the article about the serial violent assaults. A news report is shown, where a man says that they have decided to call the individual or the group vigilante. And he further briefs about what vigilante is. He says vigilante, why? And says, because the general public feels that the modern law has evolved to protect the criminals instead of punish them. The man further blabbers something. Let's skip the boring part. In the next panel Kim is holding the phone while people around him started talking, that maybe the reporters came up with the name vigilante. And some say that these cases has a clear pattern and the individual must be a serial criminal. Some fellow trainees asks the opinion of Kim about the vigilante, to which Kim says that it's hard to say just based on the article. And asks them to head to the class together. And they go to class. In the next panel we see Kim in his vigilante form. The scene shifts to a building, where a man is climbing onto the building trying to break in. The man opens a window and went inside, where a girl was sleeping, and he suddenly stomps on her. The girl woke up and writhing in pain. The man asks her to get up and started slapping her face while saying that why she did not pick up her phone. The girl says that she told him that she is breaking up with him. The man sits upon the girl and beats her relentlessly, saying that it's not up to her, and continues beating her. The girl says sorry while crying in pain. The man makes a creepy face. Suddenly the bell rings and someone call on the gate to open door. The man curses the girl angrily and says that he knew that she had someone, to which the girl denies it while sobbing. The man angrily picks up a knife and while cursing goes to open the door, and opens the door while shouting angrily. When he opens the door we see Kim standing while making a really scary face. The man was dumbfounded. Kim suddenly kicks the door, and the man's hand gets stuck between the door and he drops the knife. His hand gets broken. Then Kim holds the man in choking position from the back and comes inside the flat. Hearing the noises the girl slowly drags herself towards the main door. With a swollen bloody face she peeks at the main door. She sees a hooded man holding the man by his neck and he finally chokes him to death. She gets terrified and started calling for help and shouting to call the police. We see Kim walking away while putting his hand in the pocket of the hood, and the sirens of police were wailing in the background. Kim says in his mind, vigilante you say? And slightly smiles. The scene shifts to the broadcasting station where the employees are saying to the man that their exclusive about the vigilante was a big hit and they should prepare for next episode. The man was speechless. The red-haired woman says that she already told him that it'd be a hit. The man asks what should they do for their next episode. While exclaiming he says that it was meant to be sensational but it is still a current affairs documentary, and asks she has a plan, right? The woman reassures him and asks to leave everything to her. The man says to stop beating around the bush and tell him about the plan. The woman says that did he remember the Hungdeok Kim's case? To which he replies who doesn't know about that case. He briefs about the case by saying that Hungdeok Kim, a man in his 50s, raped a disabled girl in the bathroom and assaulted her until she was left with severe injuries. However, at the court he claimed that he does not remember the event because of the alcohol and was only sentenced to 4 years of prison. The entire country was outraged by this sentence. The woman confirms it, and says that the personal information about Hungdeok in the media was all fake. It was done to protect the criminal's human rights. And further says that he will not be registered as sexual offender as all the information about him was fake, and no one around him would know that he is a criminal. The man says that it won't be easy for general public to find that information. So the woman says that since they have all the information about Hungdeok, they should reveal everything about him on air. The man objects to this suggestion, but the woman says that we can cover it up by saying that they are doing their duty as a journalist, that is to provide the truth to the public. And while making a scary face, she says that once they put this information on air, the vigilante will appear. She sweet-talks the man by saying that it will be major, as their broadcast station will be first to report about a top-tier dark hero. The man contemplates about this situation. The woman sarcasmically asks that he did not want to go back on his words, right? The man starts sweating. The scene shifts to Police Academy, where we see Kim studying at a table, and then he gets a notification about the news that Kim listens. Kim opens the news and we see Report 25 News Channel, and the same man appears and he explains that recently the criminal's personal information is kept hidden from the general public to prevent the criminal's human rights, but what about the victim? Considering this fact, the people, here at Report 25, they are going to disclose the personal information of the criminals who committed serious crimes. He goes on blabbering again, so let's skip this part. In short, he has disclosed the identity with a photo of the perpetrator of Hongdeok Kim's case, saying that the real name of the perpetrator is Deokyeong Jong. Kim listens about it very carefully, and in the next panel, we see Kim with a very serious and scary expression. The scene shifts to CBC station, where some people are furious about the work done by the Report 25 News Channel. One of them furiously says that there are ethics in this industry and how can they air something like that without notice. The other man says that the executive director is also furious about this incident. Next we are shown that Chang Hyun-gok, the manager of Report 25 News Channel, is silently watching the news about Deokyeong Jong as he was released from prison today. The red-haired woman asks Chang-hyun that why is he not picking up his phone. To which he replies that his phone has been ringing for last few days, and he can't even turn his phone on. The man asks that is this going to be okay? Since they have revealed the info about Deokyeong, the people are throwing stones and trash his house. The man worries that Deokyeong will be stoned to death before the vigilante reaches him. The woman replies that she bets that the vigilante is hiding somewhere, dying to kill Deokyeong Jong. He will try to kill Deokyeong at the first chance he gets. The man says that he thinks so too. And the woman says to keep their reporter after Jong at all costs. Again Gok worried that what if someone other than vigilante killed Deokyeong Jong, what will happen then? While making a scary face she says that, then that person will become the vigilante too. In the next panel we are shown the house of Deokyeong Jong's house. Outside of his house was trash and cursed words written on his wall, and everyone in the neighborhood around him was ridiculing him. In a house we see that Deokyeong Jong is sitting crouching against a wall in a dark room. We see that a digital monitoring device is tied at his ankle. In next panel we see two people, one of them sighs and says that it have to be on Friday of all days, to which the person holding the camera says that their orders are absolute and you knows the drill. We see that Jeong Kim is passing by the two people while carrying a backpack. At night time in the building, the security guard was patrolling. Kim sneaks into the security room and puts a USB drive into CPU, and says that he is installing a software that will transmit the security feed directly to a Chinese website that hacks into security system. Kim notices that the guard has returned and plugs out his USB drive and dashes outside. The guard was confused that did he leave the door unlocked? The scene shifts to Police Academy where Kim is sprinting in the ground. He stops and takes a deep breath and then watches the hacked security feed. Kim sees that Deokyeong Jong is sitting in his dark room with some alcohol bottles. He is cursing bad words continuously, and then he grabs his bag where a pair of gloves and a knife is kept. In the next scene, we are shown that the police siren is wailing, and a police tape is hung around Deokyeong's house. Outside we see that the reporters are arguing amongst them as they have lost the trail of Deokyeong Jong. Inside Jong's house we see two policemen are talking to each other about where would Jong has run to. The junior officer says to his senior that Jong's last known location is Jeju Island, and after that he cut off his ankle monitor and went into hiding. The junior police officer finds a passport and asks his senior to take a look. The junior questioningly says a Chinese passport? Is Deokyeong Jong Chinese? To which his senior replies that it is a fake passport. The junior asks what was Jong trying to do, an identity theft, or a job fraud? Considering his last location, is he trying to flee the country? The senior says to go to Jeju right now, and also says that Jong might leave through different harbor, so take a look into that as well. When the senior comes outside, He is surrounded by the reporters and they are asking about the whereabouts of Deokyeong Jong. The policeman did not give them a clear answer and says them to move away. In the next scene we see that the red-hair woman is going somewhere in her car, and at the same time talking to Changhyun on the phone. The man says, "Choi, where are you? Deokyeong Jong is on the run." Choi replies that she knows it too. She says that she has a source in the police, and Deokyeong might have gone to Jeju. Choi asks Chang to also send the reporters to the Jeju, so they can cover the news of Deokyeong. Chang praises Choi for her hard work and says that he will send the reporters, and then Choi cuts the call. After cutting the call, Choi angrily curses Changhyun as he lost trail on Deokyeong, while smashing her fist at the steering wheel. In the next scene we see that police trainees are leaving the classroom after the class. Jeong Kim is also among them. Kim gets a notification in his phone, where he reads about the missing of Deokyeong. Kim's friend asks, "Is he not coming?" To which Kim replies that he needs to go to bathroom real quick. In the bathroom Kim reads everything about Deokyeong's missing report and then he sees the hacked security footage, and finds out that Jong has left his home at 3 a.m. with a big handbag. Then Kim frustratingly says that Jong didn't cut off his ankle monitor to leave the country. In the next scene we see some police officers at a seashore. One of them says that he checked all the harbors but there are no signs that Jong fled on any ship. And they further talks about the whereabouts of Deokyeong. And then the senior says that Jong might have gotten onto a foreign fishing boat. He then asks his junior to contact maritime police to check for Deokyeong at all the port terminals. Away from the harbor, in the jungle, we see Deokyeong panting and walking, hiding from the police. The scene shifts to Kim, who is exercising while waiting for the 2 days to pass, so he can get out of the academy. He says that if his intuition is right, then he don't have much time. He anxiously waits for Friday. In the next panel we see a motel, where Choi is talking to someone on the phone and is shouting, as the other person was not able to find anything at Jeju, and he cuts the call. Then Choi gets a call from Mr. Guak. He says that the reporters have reached Jeju Police Department, and asks if she found anything. Choi started yelling at him angrily as he let Deokyeong slip away, to which Mr. Guak says that it is out of his control. He further says that it does not matter who kills Deokyeong. Choi replies that he don't get it. What public wants is a video footage, the video of someone slaughtering the criminal on their behalf. Mr. Guak gets stunned. Choi further says that they have to get the video for their show to be a hit. In next panel someone reports that, in order to catch Deokyeong, the police has reinforced the inspection at port terminals, and considering the severity of crime and the public outrage, they are trying to arrest him as quickly as possible. We see Deokyeong walking. At the police academy, Kim is staring at his watch, and when the watch shows Friday, Kim walks out of the academy with a serious look on his face. In the bus, Kim read the article about Deokyeong Jong. Kim in his mind says, "Police is not the only one who is after Deokyeong." Kim, while making a serious face, says that if he finds him where he thinks he is headed, then Deokyeong is gonna wish that it was the police who finds him. The scene shifts to Anyang police station, where one of the policemen is talking to someone about Deokyeong, and when he cuts the call, he angrily tries to throw his phone away, to which his partner says he has 1 more year for his phone's contract. The senior says that they are pressing him to catch Deokyeong and they also reduce the personnel from this case. To which his partner says, that's because all Deokyeong has done is only cut off his ankle monitor. Then the senior says that it is only for now, and asks how they are protecting Jong's victim. To which the man replies that she refused for it, so they gave her a smartwatch for the time being. The senior says, even if she refuses, make 2 of their men to guard her, and have them stand outside of her door until they catches Deokyeong. We see a building where the 2 men are standing guard at the door. Outside the building we see a dark figure staring at the building. The scene shifts to a ABC broadcasting reporter who is smoking in the washroom, and then the senior policeman enters the washroom. The policeman says to reporter that it is not allowed to smoke in the bathroom here. To which the reporter replies that he is sorry and he really needed a smoke, so he can't help it. The policeman says that if he see him smoking here 1 more time, and the reporter cuts him off and says he is very sorry, and he curses the policeman in his mind. The policeman gets a call. The men on other side says that the maritime police said that they got some information regarding Deokyeong Jong. They reported that a Chinese national came board on a Russian boat in Busan and the person had Jong's passport. The maritime police asked for the checkup and the boat is headed towards Mokpo port. And policeman also rushes to Mokpo port. The reporter notices the sudden movement. In the next scene, Mr. Guak on the phone call tells Choi that the detectives at Anyang PD got a tip of Deokyung being at the Mokpo port. And he told the reporters to follow the detectives. Choi replies that she will head there too, and cuts the call. Choi says to herself that nothing is going according to her plan, the police will reach to Deokyung first. The golden opportunity is slipping away from her. What is she going to do even if she reaches to Mokpo port? If the police arrests Deokyung Jong, she will not get any scoop. Jong was a highly controversial criminal who received a lot of attention from media. And our outlaw will hunt scum like him and pummels him to death. Choi says that she needs to be the first one to capture the outlaw in action and report it. Choi says to Mr. Guak to publish everything they know in an article online. Mr. Guak advises Choi to fact-check. Choi yells and says that they don't have time for that, this is their final hope. She says, hopefully the vigilante will read their article and get to Deokyung Jong before the police. She, while making a serious face, further says that they have to do everything in their power to show the world that the vigilante they reported really exists, and then she speeds up her car. In the next panel we are shown the two people who were guarding the victim. One of them gets a call and he came to know that the police found someone similar to Deokyung at the sea. He tells this to his partner also. The girl comes out and asks if anything is wrong. To which the green shirt man replies that they found someone similar to Deokyung at the sea, and once they confirm his identity they will also clear out from here. Outside the building, Kim says to himself that this is Deokyung's last chance, turn yourself in, if you don't want to get beaten to death. He further says that the traces left by Deokyung was not of someone who is going to flee the country. Upon seeing the traces, Kim immediately understood that Deokyung is going to retaliate against the victim. You around here somewhere, aren't you? Kim says this to himself. Kim gets a notification, and sees the article that Choi Mad publish. He sees that in the article it is mentioned that Deokyung is found at the sea. Kim contemplates to himself if his intuition was wrong, while making a worrying face. In the next panel we see a delivery man on his bike, and then entering the building. While entering, the delivery man gets attacked from behind by someone and he kills the delivery man. The man takes the helmet of the delivery man and puts it on his head. Here we came to know that he is Deokyung Jong. Next we see that the green shirt man notices Deokyung coming his way, but he couldn't identify him as he was wearing a helmet. The man asks to Jong which unit is he delivering to? To which the Jong replies, it's unit 403, and leans down to open his delivery box. While opening the box, Jong says that the lady has ordered him a bowl of noodles as he is working very hard. The man replies she shouldn't have ordered it. The man notices the blood on Jong's shoes. Simultaneously Jong lunges to stab the man. The man avoids the knife using his baton, and falls Jong to the ground, and asks him to put his hands on the head. Jong pulls out a syringe and sprays something at the man. The man's hand gets a burn, and in pain, he says, "What the hell is that?" Jong then stabs the man in the stomach. Inside the house, the girl hears the noises, and opens the door to ask the detective what is happening. The girl sees Jong sitting upon the detective. She gets terrified and tries to close the door, but Jong puts his leg to block the door. Jong tries to grab the girl, but he is unable to do so because the detective was holding his other hand tightly. The detective tells the girl to run somewhere safe and call the police for help. The girl starts running while limping. Jong angrily says to let go of his hand while cursing the detective, and he pulls out his knife from his stomach. The girl is running away through the stairway and rushes towards a lift. But Jong comes from behind and grabs the girl with her hairs, and then shoves her head to the ground. Jong, while abusing, says to the girl that his life got ruined because of her, to which the girl says while crying that how is it her fault? She was only in middle school back then and Jong was the one who assaulted her, and gave her a scar that can never be erased. Jong says that why is she running her mouth instead for begging her life? He says that he should have killed her when he had the chance. He got little soft and spared her, but she ratted him out. Jong, while yelling, says that he lost everything because of her and now everyone hates him. The girl says that trash like him should have remained in prison. Why do they let people like Jong out in the society? Jong says Yes, prison is great, and now he will kill her and spend the rest of his life in prison peacefully. Suddenly a kick comes flying at him. We see that it's Kim who came in his vigilante form, and Jong falls to ground with a bang after getting kicked. Kim says that he was eavesdropping before and was wondering what Jong was going to say next. Kim says that he thought that there was a small chance that Jong might apologize to the girl. Kim further says that, from this moment onwards, blame the justice system who released him from the prison. Kim tells the girl to run, and the girl runs away terrified. Jong shouts to the girls where is she running, but he gets kicked again by the Kim. Jong while cursing asks who is he, and then he sprays the same acid at Kim, but Kim dodges it by tilting his head. Jong shouts to Kim that who does he think he is to interfere and tries to stab Kim while cursing, but Kim swiftly dodges all his attacks and kicks Jong in the stomach. Jong curses and says how long is he going to dodge. Kim leans onto the ground, to which Jong says what the hell, does he know Japanese wrestling or something like that? And lunges to stab Kim, but Kim blocks his knife with his leg and kicks at Jong's knee so hard that his knee gets cracked. Jong stumbles and steps back a little and swings his knife around so that Kim can't reach him. Jong again tries to stab Kim, and Kim blocks it again. Jong shouts and asks who is he, and says that he made it look like he was fleeing on a ship. How did Kim find him? Jong swings his knife around and says to stay away from him. If he comes close, he will cut Kim's ankle. But Kim again kicks Jong at his knee. While stumbling, Jong says to Kim to not come close, and why is he doing this to him? Jong gets cornered against a wall. Kim menacingly walks towards Jong, and after coming closer sits on the ground again. Jong starts trembling and lunges to attack Kim. Kim kicks Jong at his chin with style while leaning on the ground, and then he grabs Jong's hand and pulls out the helmet he was wearing. Jong while sweating and bleeding asks Kim to wait and listen to him, but Kim kicks his face, and he kicks continuously until he falls to the ground. And when Jong falls to the ground, he starts punching at his face and punches until the blood splatters around. Jong started begging to not kill him and says sorry again and again. Kim stands up and says that, on the wall, he will have to write an apology letter, then only he will decide what to do. Jong says thank you while sliding towards the wall. The scene shifts to where police cars are coming towards the building. And someone shouts that they have found the victim. The police, upon reaching at scene, gets shocked. One of the policemen asks what the hell is this? And we are shown Jong lying dead upside down in the pool of blood. And a message written on the wall with blood, which says, I am sorry, forgive, and lastly, sacred net. Then we see a car coming at a very high speed and almost hits the person walking at the crosswalk. The person driving the car is reporter Choi, and she yells at the person to keep his eyes open while walking on the road. The person says that he was walking on a crosswalk. Choi says she don't have time for this and drives away in the car. We see that the person was none other than Ji-young Kim. The scene shifts to building area where many police sirens were wailing. The paramedics were taking the injured detective to the ambulance. Then the lead detective of this case arrives in his car in a hurry at the scene, and then rushes inside the building. Their two lady officers were helping the girl victim. The girl says while sobbing that the detective was stabbed. One of the lady officers says that he has been transported to the hospital, so don't worry. The lady officer was going to ask about the case, but the lead detective stops her by saying that the girl has to calm down first. We see some people gossiping about the incident among themselves. The police was inquiring about the incident from an old man. They say that if the man heard arguing, why didn't he call the police? The man replies that, he thought that it was not that serious, but just another couple bickering at each other. Then Choi also reaches at the scene. She says to herself that, she was thinking right, Deokyeong Jong came to retaliate against the previous victim. She tries to go inside, and asks that at what time the incident reported, but she was stopped by the police that were standing guard there. She shouts and asks did the police responded promptly after getting the call? Were appropriate victim protection measures were taken? The police replies that the incident was reported 9 minutes ago and the police arrived at the scene within 3 minutes. After hearing this, Choi says to herself, 9 minutes ago. Perhaps, he might be still around and she have to find him or at least the trace of him. Choi runs to find the vigilante. The scene shifts and the lead detective is standing in front of the message that was written on the wall. The two men standing behind thinks, what does the last phrase, sacred net, means? The lead detective explains that the scared net is a net cast by heavens to entrap the sinners. It may seem loose, but at the end, the sinners will be entrapped by it. He further says that the text is from a Chinese philosophical book called The Way of Virtue. The man standing next to him asks, is he familiar with this type of stuff? To which the detective replies that sacred net is one of his favorite phrases. The scene shifts to the bus, which goes from Seoul Station to Police University. Inside the bus, the trainees are laughing after seeing Kim sleeping with his mouth open. One of them says to him to wake up as they have arrived at the academy, and he further says that Kim must have had a fun weekend if he is this much exhausted. At the police academy, we are taken to a lecture hall, where a professor is giving lecture on criminal investigation. We see that Kim is also present in this lecture. The professor put some light on the national murder stats, and shows a chart where a decade worth of information about murder is being compared. The professor says that the average arrest rate of murders in last decade is 98.5%, which means a large number of murderers have been arrested. Kim with a bruised hands writes it down, while making a poker face in the class. The professor further says that if they take a closer look at the arrested perpetrator's criminal history, 26% has no priors, while 28% have over 6 priors. Based on this, he says that lots of murderers have priors, but there is also a high rate of first-time offenders. The professor says that it is very likely that the so-called first-time offenders, they could have committed multiple crimes in the past but was simply not caught. Kim in his mind says that, "Professor, you are correct," and gives a slight smile. In the hallway, some trainees are seeing the news of last night's incident. Kim, while looking at them, says in his mind that he got a little too emotional, he can't believe that he killed the man like that. While giving off a slight smile, Kim says from now on he have to be more careful so as to not get caught. Next we see a news channel where a reporter briefs about Deokyoung's murder incident. He explains that Jong was already familiar with the police investigation method, so he cut off his ankle monitor and made it look like he fled on a ship. After creating this smokescreen, Jong went looking for his previous victim, and in the process he injured a delivery man and a police officer who was guarding the victim with a weapon and acidic liquid. Jong attempted to retaliate against the victim. But someone shows up just in time and restrained Jong. In a physical confrontation with the unknown person, Jong was stabbed in the chest and died due to excessive bleeding. The only eyewitness was Jong's previous victim, and she is unable to make any statement due to the shock. In the next scene, we are taken to Professor Junyop Lee's office. 2 trainees are present there, one of them is Ji-young and the other person's name is Sihanouk. The professor says that he called them here today to ask for a favor. He further says that there is a big case in Anyang and he have been called to take part in the investigation. And asks them while he is away, he would like the 2 of them to complete his report that he was working on. Sihanouk says that if it's a big case, is Professor talking about Deokyoung's case? The professor replies in affirmative, and further says that the police is struggling with the case and media is in a frenzy too. The professor says that the police have checked all the surveillance cameras and dashcams in the area but got nothing. He says that this one is like a phantom. Then Kim with a poker face says that isn't it possible if the perpetrator was someone who lives inside the complex? They could have come out during the commotion and accidentally killed Jong in the process. Isn't it possible that the person simply went back into their house, afraid of what they've done? Sihanouk says that it can be possible, and in this case it would not be considered self-defense. But to Kim's surprise, the professor says that some things are not made public and it was premeditated. Sihanouk with a grim expression says that, if that is the case, could it be done by the vigilante? The professor shouts and says that he is a police academy trainee, and advises Sihanouk to not use such phrases conjured by some third-rate reporter. Sihanouk replies in affirmative. Then professor instructs them to only use the computer present in his office, and do not take any content of the report out of this office, and also taking pictures are prohibited. They both replied in affirmative. While sitting in front of a computer, Kim says to himself that the information is being kept from the public, proving that this was a premeditated crime. He says that, first, the letter was not made public. Is there anything else that he may have missed? Then Kim sees a top suspect personnel files and gives a smile. He says it's from quite a while back. In the list he sees that there is a name that is underlined, and says what you have to do to get your name underlined on a list of horrendous criminals. He looked into this file, and sees, named Deopseo. Daejeon High Court. The scene shifts to the complex where Deokyeong incident happened. Choi approaches a lady, and introduces herself as a reporter. The lady says that she is not interested in the interview. Choi says that she is not asking for an interview. If the lady gives Choi her time, then Choi will compensate her. Choi says that all the lady has to do is take pictures of the crime scene. If she can provide Choi usable pictures, then she will give 500,000 won to the lady, and if the lady provides detailed pictures, she will give 2 million won to her. When the lady went away, Choi's colleague asks, "Is it alright to do this?" Choi replies with a hateful expression that if the police is keeping us out of that place, then there is definitely something. Choi in her mind further says that she bet it's a trace of the vigilante. We see the lady going to the place of incident, and arguing with the police officer as she was having trouble to go in. She says that she is the resident of this complex. Is she not allowed to go to her own house? At Anyang Police Department, the detectives are discussing among themselves that how Deokyeong Jong made his way in the building and injured the deliveryman and the officer guarding Jong's previous victim. When he was going to retaliate against the victim, the mystery figure appeared and ultimately Jong was restrained, and was forced to write a letter on the wall. Then the superintendent says that if Jong used blood to write, does that mean Jong was already bleeding pretty badly? To which one of the detectives says that they are not sure what happened to him. The superintendent shouts that this case is of utmost importance and they need to clarify this matter. He says that the cause of Jong's death is excessive bleeding, and since the weapon belongs to the Jong, if he got accidentally hurt while engaging with the mystery figure, then it is possible that a righteous citizen stepped in to help the victim and accidentally killed Jong. But if he was stabbed with intent, then the mystery figure is a murderer. Then the lead detective says that on the wall Jong wrote "Sacred Net" out of nowhere. The perp who forced Jong to write this, was watching him write the message. And maybe perp heard the police approaching and for whatever reason, when Jong wrote "Until forgive," the perp made him write "Sacred Net" in a hurry and ran away. Considering the fact that the perp made Jong write on the wall in the midst of all that frenzy, and the fact that he chose the phrase "Sacred Net," which means, what goes around comes around, it would seem that the perp is not trying to hide his crime, rather he wants people's attention. The detective says that considering the circumstances, the perp was watching Jong while writing the letter, and when Jong was done writing, the perp stabbed Jong in execution style, so they must consider the perp a murderer. As they were discussing, suddenly a man came inside calling for the superintendent. Then we see Report 25 news channel where the same man came to blabber something, but this time let's hear what he says. The man says that this channel was the first to reveal Deokyeong Jong's real name, and this time they brought exclusive images of the crime scene where Jong was killed. He says that there was a lot of doubt over the case as the police refused to reveal the crime scene, but to the people's surprise Jong left behind a message written with blood. He says stay tuned as they are going to reveal the image after a commercial. In the next panel, the reporter says that Chairman Yul Choi is joining them, and he asks what does "Sacred Net" means. After seeing this, the superintendent yells at the detectives that how did the pictures of crime scene leaked out. And we see all the detectives with a shocked expression. In the next scene Chang Hyun-Guak is calling Choi. Guak says that, at first he thought that they were just gonna get off the charts viewers ratings, but now he thinks that they might have gotten involved in something serious. He says that the website's bulletin board is blowing up, and says that this is not some sort of crime drama but rather a social phenomenon. Choi replies that she already told him that this news will change the world. Guak with a serious look shouts and says to not take it lightly, there is lots of criticism too. They are being accused of reporting a criminal who has taken law in their hands like a piece of entertainment. Choi replies, if they are criticizing us then let them do so, they are the true fanatics. Guak says, this isn't a joke, we are journalists. Choi cuts him off while shouting and calling his name. Guak gets startled. Choi with a loud voice says that the power of press is derived from viewership ratings and view counts, and besides Guak was the one who was whining about low ratings. She further says press. This is modern-day Colosseum. In Rome they didn't just execute the criminals, they would gather up all the hated criminals, as tens of thousands outraged citizens watched, jeering. Gladiators would enter and execute the criminals. The more pleasing and vicious the strike of sword, the more popular gladiator became. She says how our criminals who are sentenced to death are released back into the society after few years.
And why doesn't anyone tell us the identities of these heinous criminals responsible for despicable crimes? Why are we stripped of the right to protect ourselves from the danger? This is how the citizens have become outraged audience, and one of these enraged citizens have decided to take out these scumbags for all the world to see. She says that the message, Sacred Net, is proof of this. The person they dubbed as Vigilante stepped forward, volunteering to be the gladiator at our Colosseum. She says we are not journalists, but we are gladiator promoters. And she asks, if now he understood what they have to do for their viewers? She says they have to provide their viewers with the best spectacle in the world. Mr. Guac was stunned and then do a 180 and says that he was just checking on her, and she don't have to worry about the higher-ups. Then he asks what is she doing right now? She replies that the Vigilante has a strong sense of leadership and desire for control, he is a diligent man with a steady job, and he is almost 40 years old. She further says that the Vigilante shows as his target through media coverage and does not have access to privileged information, so right now, she is picking a target for the Vigilante. The scene shifts and we are shown the bruised hand of Kim. He is surfing through the criminal list and as he sees the information about the criminal Soo Do-yup, he starts trembling while making a serious face. Then suddenly Sihanouk taps on his shoulder and asks why is he so jumpy. And further says that it is time for them to leave Professor Lee's office. Kim says okay and while going back to the dorms Kim says in his mind, Soo Do-yup. Next is your turn while making a little serious and blank expression on his face. The panel changes and we are briefed about a case, culprit 1, 15, female and culprit 2, 18, female, they both often interacted while they were on the run. After running out of money, they chose victim A, 34, female, who had previously treated them with hospitality. The reason they chose her the target because they knew she would open the door when they rang the bell. They also took help of culprit 3. Soo Do-yup, 22, male. They became acquaintance with him while they were on the run. After the door was opened all the culprits entered the victim's home and proceeded to subdue her. However, the victim's 5-year-old daughter, after witnessing such sight began to cry. The three, ignoring the pleas of the victim, and dragged the child to the bathroom and killed her. Furthermore, they killed the victim and moved her body to the veranda. After the two were killed, the three raided the house, even boiling and eating some ramen. Eventually, the son, 8 years old, returned home after the school had ended. Then he was lured into the home and then killed. Victim A's body showed signs of a severe assault, which the three admitted to being evidence of torture in an attempt to draw out her credit card password. The total amount of money they managed to gather after mercilessly murdering a family of 3 was 68,000 won. Using the money the group went to sing at a karaoke bar, and 11 hours after the crime, the 3 were arrested. Culprit 1 admitted to the murder of 3, but due to her being a minor, her sentence was reduced from a life sentence to 15 years. Culprit 2 who was 18, was sentenced 17 years, and culprit 3, Soo Do-yup, stated that he had merely followed the 2 and the family was killed after he had returned from buying ramen. However he still received 11 years of sentence. The husband, who had lost his wife and children in such a horrible way, after criticizing the court for doling out just sentences, said that he could not bear to watch the criminals walk around freely after few years, and left the country. Next we see that Kim is watching the post made by Soo Do-yup, and reading the comments where Soo Do-yup is not even showing any guilt towards the dead victims. After reading the comments, Kim makes a frightening look. The scene shifts to ABC broadcast station and we see that reporter Choi and Mr. Guac are greeting each other. Then Mr. Guac says that all the ad spots for their program have been filled and the price went up as well. Choi says why are you happy just with that? Your ambitions are smaller than I thought. Mr. Guac felt embarrassed, and then he says that they will do the exclusive coverage on the Vigilante. Then Choi asks Mr. Guac that did you see the file I sent? He says, the case they are going to reporting this time, right? And asks why are we reporting on 3 people at once? Choi while making an exotic expression says, to try and see who is Vigilante's type. In the next panel we are taken to the police academy. In the hallway a group of trainees is chatting among them. One of them asks that did they know that Professor Sun Gil-soo is going to attend a debate over Vigilante on a radio program? One of them says that they don't even know if the Vigilante is real. To which another person replies that because of sacred net, in Deokyeong Jong's case, the vigilante has become an accepted truth, and he definitely wrote that knowing the meaning of it. He further says that the vigilante is provoking the entire world. Then another person says that the vigilante most likely has a steady career with a leadership position. We see that Kim is listening to their conversation and gets shocked upon hearing this. Then another person says that, I think the vigilante is a psychopath with a good education, and he probably prepared the phrase, Heaven's Net, by repeatedly doing image training, and he came up with the idea to make a criminal write a phrase that represents justice. Again another person says that since Deokyeong Jong assaulted several people, and even if he died during the assault, the killer would have an obvious justification. However, the vigilante has accepted a great risk in order to display his beliefs to the public. This is a man with confidence that he won't get caught, a person with a strong desire of control. Kim contemplates to himself, everyone is having fun with analysis. Is it really that fun? It is not a difficult analysis, but it is an analysis without much evidence, except for one thing, I didn't prepare the phrase Heaven's Net, it came spontaneously to me at the scene. Kim with a blank expression says that, I didn't use that phrase while accepting the risk of getting caught, instead that phrase will help hide me, because if I wanted to this, not getting caught is important. And Kim walks away. Then Kim spent his days while following daily routine at the academy, then Friday came. In the bus, Kim's friends asks that is he going out again? One friend asks, where are you going, you have a girlfriend right? It's not like you are meeting the mentor for 2 days straight, just cough up. Kim replies, you caught me. Actually I am preparing for CSAT and thinking of retaking the test and going to medical school. Then his friend replies, when you are saying it, it does not sound like a joke. Then he says, spend this week's time with us. The second friend also asks the same to Kim. Kim while making a blank expression says in his mind, that's a problem, this is my own calling, don't bother me. He further says in his mind that, using the data from this week, I am determining if Soo Duyup is material worth working on. While flinching Kim says to his friends that, it's not possible, you guys can't handle it, and you talk too much. His friends shouts at him, what do you see us as? Then Kim gets a notification about the news is updated for the topic Kim has selected and we see that the news is updated by report 25. After seeing it for a while, Kim closes the notification. In the next scene we are taken to a nightclub, where some pretty girls are dancing and having fun. We see Kim and his friends at the club, and Kim's friend are stunned. One of them asks Kim, I thought that you only studied and worked out, but how do you know a place like this? Kim replies, through SNS. A girl approaches Kim and keeps her hand around his neck and leans onto him. Seeing this sight Kim's friend were taken aback and remained speechless. Then the girl asks Kim, can you support me to the bathroom? Kim replies, sure. Then Kim while saying to his friends to have fun, goes with the girl. While the girl was complimenting Kim, Kim speaks to himself, the picture that is on Soo Duyup's SNS is always from the same angle, which means that he is always at an exclusive spot. Then Kim glares at a seat where 2 men were sitting and says to himself found him. A man says, wow, isn't that the 2 million won set? Where are you getting the money from, to order something like that? Soo Duyup replies, it was torture in prison, I thought the world would totally change by the time I came out. But, I met my boss there, and my life turned around. The man sitting with Duyup says that, who would have thought that I would be living so well after involving with something like a runaway fam? Duyup says that, it was heaven's will that I went to prison, truly a blessing in disguise. And now those kids will be released in a year or 2, so everyone's doing well. The man asks, then how did you get released first? Duyup replies that we matched our story, that the youngest was the one who killed the lady and kids, and we knew she would only get 15 years of sentence. You ask why? Because she is a 15-year-old minor. The man asks, the judge believed that? Duyup replies there is no evidence, nothing. And says don't you know the law? Kim was listening their conversation. Duyup with a devilish smile says that if there is any doubt, then that is to defendant's advantage. And then they went to dance with the girls. Then we see Kim, with an excited expression he says, yeah, heaven did free you from prison just in time, to meet me. The scene shifts to the police academy, where the trainees were jogging. Then we see Kim's friend who were making an awkward face while running. In the corridor, they call Kim's name and then, Sihanouk with a worried face asks, "How far did you go with the girl at the club last night?" Kim says, that we agreed to pretend it didn't happen or to at least not talk about it at the academy. His friends says we are just curious. Kim replies, "I sent her home in a taxi, let's stop talking about this." Then they asks, "Could we maybe go this week?" Kim cuts them off and says, "I am going to a jiu-jitsu competition this weekend." His friends make a frustrating look. Then Kim asks, "Did you guys have fun that day?" They with an awkward smile replies that, "It was great." But in reality they awkwardly tried and went home embarrassed. Then Kim, while making a selfish smile, says to himself, "Friends, if something unexpected happens, become my alibi." Then we see Ji-young sitting in front of his computer in a dark room. Ji-young says, "This bastard. There is no need to do extra surveillance." He posts a picture on his social media every 1 to 2 hours. If I look at the order of the pictures, I might be able to pick out his path. Kim says, he's going around in every decent club in the area. If it's like this, there could be a chance in the club or while he is moving between the clubs. Let's make a list of clubs mentioned here and find a good place to do work. Then Ji-young sees a comment, and says the victim's account. He clicks on the link and sees a video of victim playing and spending time with the family. Kim starts sweating and then reads an emotional comment made by Dad where he wrote that there won't be any new posts, but when I come here I feel that we're all together again, and Kim starts crying. Then a comment came from Diop making fun of the previous comment. After seeing Diop's comment, Kim clenches his fist, and then we see Kim furious and with a killing intent. Kim takes out a phone from the drawer and started doing something. Kim says, the majority of entertainment establishments have cameras connected to internet, for the owner, to check the state of business from outside. Even if I am not the one who hacks it, there are many people who hacks places like this. Then Kim founds a footage, and says, as I thought, the club Diop frequently goes to has its cameras hacked. If I compare the hacked feed with Soo Diop's post on social media, and then Kim finds him, then he compares other photos as well. While comparing, Kim says these are not misleads, he actually went around uploading the pictures live. Then, if I pick out clubs that have their floor plans available and compare the locations of the hacked security cameras. A club that Soo Diop frequents, with wide viewing angles from the cameras. A club called Kuntak. Kim says, when Diop comes to this club, he parks his car on quiet third-floor parking basement. In order to get to the elevator from there, you have to climb about half a story of stairs. Sometime in between 3 and 4 in the morning. Kim taps at a place on the floor map and says, this place is perfect. He further says, if there is a problem, it would be that Soo Diop is always accompanied by a person and that he doesn't valet, but instead parks the car himself. Kim contemplates, why? To escape quickly if he's chased by someone? Is he being mindful of the fact that something could happen? Kim says, I would have to go to the club again this week, as there are places that need a bit more analysis. While looking at post of Diop, Kim says, Soo Diop, it hurts whenever I see someone like you. It gets hard to breathe. Kim clenches his fists and says, you are a bastard that can't be clueless like others. You need to know why this is happening to you. Just you wait, we see Kim enraged. In the bus, Kim was listening to the news, where someone reports that, some days ago police announced that the death of Deokyeong Jong would be treated as a murder case. And this caused a large wave of criticism. He further reports that the reason was the phrase, Heaven's Net, written on the wall. And due to the meaning of that phrase, the internet dubbed Deokyeong's killer as a chivalrous criminal. And a drunken man even attempted to damage the crime scene, yelling on the scene officers to stop chasing the vigilante. Prank calls claiming to be vigilante flooded the police lines. Many people argue that the vigilante prevented the death of the woman, and that the police is trying to illogically investigate it as murder case, to merely save their faces. It is even being said that police are not effective, as they can only begin investigating after the crime is done, the victims are harmed and the people are killed. He further reports that, clearly, the public is making the investigation of Deokyeong's murder increasingly difficult. After hearing the report, Kim gives a slight smile. At Kuntak Club, Kim goes into a room and says to himself, there aren't any cameras that I missed, and says it's perfect. He goes where people are having fun, and looks around. Then he finds Soo Duyup and says, "No matter how much I think about it, I just can't understand. Enlighten me. A bastard like you, who kills women and children for some chump change, why do we have to release you, pretending you have been rehabilitated? Does a bastard like you, who doesn't have an ounce of repentance, and instead makes a mockery of the victim, deserve a chance at new life?" Then Duyup gets a call and he goes somewhere. Kim notices it, and says, he left all by himself, and without his phone. Kim contemplates, where is he going, and says, it doesn't matter, this is a chance. Kim chases after him, and while making an ecstatic face says, "Soo Duyup, your turn has come. Today is your," and we see someone's hand coming from behind calling him. The hand taps on his shoulder, and Kim got startled. He stopped to see who it is and has a surprised look on his face. We see, she is the same girl who was with Kim when he came to club last time. She says, "We finally met," and asks, "What do you go around doing?" Kim was unable to recognize her and asks, "Who are you?" The girl replies, "Don't you remember me? I asked you to escort me, but you just threw me by the stairway." Kim with an apologetic face says, "Really? That happened? I can't remember because I was so drunk," and says sorry for that incident and says, "I will leave, you have fun." The girl stops him and asks, "Where are you going? Did you not hear? I said I was looking for you." Kim, while removing her hand from his shoulder, says, "I don't know why were you looking for me, but I have some business to take care of." The girl replies, "I know that business, it's something to do with Cool Duyup, right?" Kim gets shocked and sweat starts dripping from his face. The girl further says, "I saw you watching Duyup the entire time, and it was easy to tell that you were looking for a chance." Kim was taken aback by her words. She asks Kim to follow her. While going with the girl, Kim contemplates to himself, how should I handle this? Does she know something about me? No, that can't be. At worst, it'll just be a petty complaint. He calls himself stupid and says, "I should have scanned my surroundings, it slipped my mind that I can also be observed by others. Let's try not to make a big deal out of this and proceed carefully." The girl brought Kim to a stairway and says, "If it's here, we can talk without anyone interrupting." Kim looks at her with a blank face. Then the girl shows a paper and asks Kim, "The reason you were watching Duyup was because of this, right?" Kim was dumbfounded and asks himself, "What is that? A paper?" The girl says, "Judging by the light in your eyes, you were really looking for this," and says this is a new product. Though I won't tell you what it is called. She briefs Kim, that in America, they steep a book in drugs, and then mail it to Korea. After the book is delivered, the pages are cut. And if you put a piece on the roof of your mouth, the drugs slowly seep out and hits you like a wave. She further says, "You were looking for Duyup to get your hands on this, right? But too bad, he only sells it to foreign students. When I saw you that day, I knew I wanted you," and asks Kim, "You want to do this?" She further says, "Do you know? This is much better if you do it while kissing." Kim was shocked and says to himself, "Drugs? Soo Duyup, this bastard was selling drugs. So that's what he meant by meeting the boss there. The money he throws every night, the reason he goes around clubs, it was because he was selling drugs." The girl, while approaching Kim for kissing, asks him, "What are you doing? I told you you can't buy this. Don't you want it?" The scene shifts to the bus where Kim was sitting by the window lowering his head. Two fellow trainees started to talk each other, and one of them asks, "Why does Jiyoung look so down?" To which other replies, "You know that Mingu also went to that jiu-jitsu competition, right? He told me that Jiyoung lost in first round and left early because of that upset." The first one says, "You are kidding. Jiyoung lost in first round? Was the opponent national level athlete or something?" And says, "But he is upset over something like that? That's pretty unexpected." The other replies, "Seems he's the type to obsess over competitions." We see that Kim was clenching his fists, calling his action amateurish, and says, "Was I someone this amateurish?" He calls himself pathetic while making a frustrating look. Then we see Kim going to Professor Lee's office. He sits in front of a computer and opens the files of suspect information. He says, "Let's look through the cases involving distribution of drugs and places involving like that club." He reads that, pot, weed, blunt. Cannabis, product like these are circulating pretty loosely. However, drugs like that paper are only distributed in small circle, like Americans or foreign students. Even the way they smuggles it in, is the same. Once in possession of the smuggled drugs, they distribute it to proper sellers, who sell it to only trustworthy customers and in limited amount to prevent any information leak. Even if there is a report, as the operation is done in secrecy, so only the seller will be arrested. As it is structured in such a way, the seller is the one whose shoulders are the danger. Naturally, all transactions are done with cash. If in case the seller runs off with the cash or drugs, people unknown to the seller are stationed at the club to surveil them. Kim leans on the chair and thinks about when the girls caught him, and calls himself stupid. He says, the guards watching Duyup could have noticed me. Kim, while making a frustrating look, says, if it's like this, it's pointless. I have to give up, even after doing all that work. Kim leaves the professor's office while saying, I can't touch him. I'll get caught. We see Kim jogging with his fellow trainees while making a grim expression. Then we see him in the library. He says to himself, there are two principles I choose my projects on. Someone who is released early compared to the crime they committed, and someone who keeps committing on crime in spite of being released. Kim, while surfing through the library, says Soo Duyup killed a woman and her children for some measly chump, and in order to receive reduced sentence, he used a loophole in the law and dumped the blame on the youngest. After being released, he goes around trafficking drugs and ridiculing the remaining family members. Kim, while opening a book of crime and punishment, says, the reason I haven't been caught yet is because I was lucky, but it's different this time. He puts the book back on the shelf. And scene shifts to the bus. While leaning on the chair, he says, I can't touch him. Messing with Soo Duyup is dangerous. And suddenly he makes a serious face and says, but that is why I want to kill him even more. At Kuntak Club, we see Duyup walking towards his car while humming. And he finds a note at his car, and gets shocked upon reading it, as it was written turn yourself in with a number below it. He looks around and then keeps the note in his pocket. In the washroom, he sits on a toilet seat and calls Sung Yeol. Duyup says, I am giving you a number, so call it and find out what kind of person they are. Duyup restlessly waits for the call back, and when the call came, Duyup asks what happened. Sung Yeol replies, what are you doing? Are you joking? That number is the Busan Police Drug Division Chief's number. Duyup gets shocked and sweat starts dripping from his face. Sung Yeol asks him, why did you tell me to call that number? Duyup replies, just be quiet, and asks what did you say? Sung Yeol replied, I just said, I made a wrong call. Duyup asks did it go through? Sung Yeol says, how should I know? And says don't call me again, we don't have anything to do with each other, and he cuts the call. Duyup was as shocked, he contemplates to himself, did I get caught? Then why did they not capture me and used a note instead? There is only one possible reason to send a note like this. While putting his hands on his mouth, and sweating, he says they are telling me to rat on the supplier. Then Duyup goes at the outskirts of the city in his car, and meets a person. Duyup gives money to the person says good work. And then the person gives him a new book and says, it has around 120 to 130 pages. Duyup, after looking at the book, says, this time it's a Japanese book, and worriedly asks, perhaps, does the supply comes in from Busan? The person intensely glares at Duyup. Duyup gets little scared and says I was just asking. And leaves in his car. At the club, Duyup say to himself, what do I do continuously? And anxiously says someone in here is watching me. He sweatingly says, I don't want to go to prison again, but I don't want this lifestyle to end. He says, okay, let's think about this calmly, there's no proof that police is the one who made that note. He says, yeah, I am just freaking out over a little prank that someone pulled on me. For example, a prank from someone who ran out of money and can't buy again. Duyup worriedly thinks, are they going to report me? While tapping on the table, he says, I can't just sit around doing nothing. I have to take some safety measures. While walking carrying his handbag, he says, for now, let's rip out some pages and hide the rest. Even if I am caught, if I throw the pages on the floor, no one would know that it's drugged. We see Kim in his vigilante form on a bridge looking at his phone. While watching the hacked feed, he says, this time, he don't have his bag in his hand, he hid his book and the money. The scene shifts to an apartment complex, where the same girl who approached Kim is sitting nervously on her bed with a note and a phone in front of her. She says to herself, I shouldn't have done the paper at the club that time. She contemplates, how was I caught? Who put this note in my handbag? What do I do? Am I going to prison? I won't be able to go back to America if I have a criminal record. On the note we see, Drugs Division's number written on it. Suddenly her phone vibrates, she picks up the phone and gets shocked upon seeing it and starts sweating. In the message it was written, within 5 minutes, head to the Busan station and make a report using the saved message. There will be some animosity involved, so it will be good if you leave the country, until the organization is destroyed. And at last it was written, thank you for your cooperation. In the next panel we see that, Duyup comes out of Kuntak Club, and while taking a smoke he says, I am about to die from nervousness. Then he says, no, it's probably nothing. Then again he says, honestly, it's too much stress. Then suddenly some cars came screeching and several policemen rushes out. Duyup notices the commotion and gets frightened. The police rushes inside the club, they shouts that this is police and says from now on, no one should leave the building, and they raid the Kuntak Club. Duyup after seeing the raid, started running. While running he curses and says, what do I do? And tries to make a call, but it didn't connect. Duyup while sweating, says, he ran. Knowing we got busted, he ran off after cutting the tail. Suddenly his phone rings, he answers the call. The person on the other side asks, Mr. Soo Duyup, where are you at this moment? Duyup started shivering. Then the scene shifts, and we see Duyup in the outskirts of the city, going into a grassy area. Duyup says, first of all, there doesn't seem to be nobody around. I hid the book and the money together. If I want to run away, I need money. When he starts searching near a rock, a figure calls Duyup's name from behind, and asks what are you looking for? Then we see the vigilante menacingly sitting on a package, on a higher ground. Duyup asks, who are you? Did Boss Sung Soo send you? Where is he right now? The vigilante says, I was worried, that you would be caught, but seeing you came here safely, this is surely the wills of heavens, and the vigilante stands up. The vigilante, while opening a small bottle further says, when I counted the money you hid, it amounted to 280 million won. It's quite an amount, why did you bury it the ground instead of storing it in the bank or your house? Then he pours the gasoline stored in the bottle on the package of money. Duyup worriedly shouts, what are you spraying on my money? While running up to the vigilante he shouts, get away from my money. And when he tries to grab vigilante's leg, he steps back and kicks Duyup on his face. Duyup slides down and makes painful sound. Then Duyup lunges to punch the vigilante, but the vigilante dodges it and does the judo trick and falls Duyup to the ground with a bang. Duyup gets up and starts running away. Seeing him run away, the vigilante says, he's one tough bastard. I like it and started walking towards him. While running away, Duyup notices a metal chain lying on the ground. He picks it up and swings it at the vigilante, but the vigilante dodges it. He yells and asks, who are you? Did Boss Sung Soo send you to shut me up? He says, don't do this, let me go, I will not get caught, and even if I get caught, I will not say a word. And pleads to just let him run away with that money. The vigilante says, sincerely apologize. Duyup was dumbfounded. The vigilante again says, if you sincerely apologize to the family you murdered, I will let you turn yourself in. Then Duyup changes his attitude and curses the vigilante, and says, you fucking scared me. With an angry face he says, I thought the boss had sent you, and he swings the metal chain at the vigilante. But he keeps dodging it. Duyup curses him and says, you're making it harder than it needs to be. While swinging the chains he asks, are you the uncle of those dead cunts? And keeps on swinging it relentlessly. And when the vigilante comes forward to attack him, a metal chain comes swinging and hits him at his thigh. He screams in pain. Duyup says, I felt that one on my hand, and asks, what happened to your stance? Weren't you gonna avenge them? He says, what's going on, not going according to your plan. He keeps swinging the chain and the vigilante dodges it with a little difficulty because of his injured thigh. Duyup stops and asks, are you scared or something? You think you can dodge forever? You are slowing down, you know? I can see the blood all the way through your jeans. While going to swing the chain, he shouts and says, "It's getting hard to even dodge, right? I'll split open your head." The vigilante starts running away. Duyup while shouting says, "Look at this fucker, you are running? I thought you wanted to atone." And sarcasmically says, "Please go after receiving my apology." Then he suddenly gets shocked. We see the vigilante holding a lit matchstick. He throws it on the package of money and it starts burning. Duyup worriedly shouts, and started running while swinging the chains and shouting, "My money." He tries to put off the fire, and simultaneously swings the chain at the vigilante. The vigilante steps back a little. Duyup with an angry face tries to put off the fire saying, "No no no." The vigilante lunges to attack him, but Duyup swings the chain at him, and the vigilante dodges it. Duyup shouts in anger, "You fucking bastard, I will kill you." Then he notices that his money is blowing away due to the wind. He shouts no. Seeing the opportunity, the vigilante lunges at Duyup to attack, but Duyup swings his chain and it got snapped around the vigilante's neck. The vigilante punches him in the face and Duyup's grip on the chain got loose. The vigilante punches his face again, and his teeth got broken. He swings around the chain, but the vigilante swiftly dodges it, and then grabs Duyup at his waist, lifts him up and by locking his legs, makes him fall to the ground. Duyup curses him, and says to let him go. But the vigilante tightens his grip and then twists Duyup's ankle. Duyup shouts in pain. Then the vigilante grabs his neck, and takes off the chain that got snapped around his neck. While he was being choked, Duyup asks him to wait, but then the vigilante stuffs the chain in Duyup's mouth, and then presses on it with force. He takes out the chain from Duyup's mouth. His mouth got bloodied. And when the vigilante was going to hit him with the chain, Duyup while crying and fumbling says, "I will turn myself in, please spare me." Then the vigilante says, "You didn't spare them, did you? They begged for their life, yet you even killed the children." Duyup while sobbing, says, "I was wrong, please spare me, I apologize sincerely." The vigilante says, "Why are you apologizing to me?" He asks him to take his phone out. He says to him, to go to the victim's account. When Duyup opens the victim's account, the children were singing a song. The vigilante says to Duyup, "Apologize to them directly. I'll send you there." He further says, "Though I don't know if you'll end up at the same place." And he started punching Duyup onto his face while sitting at top of him. The song was playing while he was punching Duyup, and then we see vigilante punching Duyup while crying. Then we see the vigilante walking away while limping. He then explains the meaning of the symbol of law, and says, "There are people that think that, much like the water flows naturally, the law is something that causes the world to flow in orderly manner," and says, however that is not the case. He then explains about a guarding deity of China during the Yao era, named He Qi. He says, it looked like a mix between a tiger and a bear. In addition he had a horn upon its head. He says that, He Qi had the ability to detect good and evil, and when he identifies the sinner, he drives his horn through their body. He further says that, He Qi is a creature that symbolizes water. That's right, the symbol of law doesn't mean motion akin to the flow of water, but instead refers to the going of He Qi, the arbiter of sinners. The vigilante with a grim expression says, "Yes, this is my law."
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon.